Now, it's been revealed that more Australian children than ever are being diagnosed with autism, with a 35% surge in just the past 4 years. Analysis of data from the National Disability Insurance Scheme, NDIS, shows more than 220,000 children around the country with an autism spectrum disorder diagnosis receiving financial support through the NDIS. We now have 1 in every 27 Australian children diagnosed with autism. That's higher than New Zealand, higher than the United States, and just about every other country around the world. Louise, I can't understand why the rate of autism in this country is almost double that of Canada. I mean, what are we doing here?
Well, what are we doing? That's the big question, isn't it? Are we diagnosing more, or are we diagnosing better in a way? I mean, if we are diagnosing better and there are children in the system who are now going to be helped and we have the capacity to help them, then that's one thing. But if we've got parents who feel unless they put a label on their child, they won't get any support, and they go down that road, then that may sort of suggest why the numbers are so high. And I think we're quite unique globally in the way we do assess this for our kids. As you say, we've got double the rate of Canada because they clearly have a different system there, but we don't want to incentivise people to label their children and set them on the path of autism if it's not accurate. But if the funding is dependent on that, you can see why some parents take that route, and some healthcare workers as well.
Adam, I think Louise has hit the nail on the head. Are we incentivising autism being diagnosed? Because once you have that diagnosis, the family has access to a range of services and benefits through the NDIS. And there are doctors who perhaps, if it's a borderline case, they will go with that diagnosis because they want that child to have access to those benefits.
Of course, and if that doctor says no, the parents will find some other doctor that says yes. That's exactly the problem. I mean, the NDIS is creates a huge incentive to be classified as disabled. I mean, in the 3 months from the end of June to the end of September, the number of people on it increased 5% to 751,000 people, right?
Wow.
So this was a scheme that was forecast to have a few 100,000 at most on it back when it was first proposed 10 years ago. And now we're coming up to 1 million, right? I joked on social media, by the end of next year, can we have 1 million disabled people in Australia? We are certainly on track to have that. Now, whether they are really disabled or not is another question, right? But certainly on paper, we will have.
As is often the case with Labor, I've got to choose my words carefully here, they come up with a scheme that's actually worthwhile and important in the way it's initially presented, and then it morphs into something entirely different. Now, for people who've got profound disabilities, who've had that terrible misfortune in life, whether by birth or an accident,
people support.
They deserve to be. They don't deserve to be living their lives in aged care facilities as young people. So those services, but it's now so broad that it's become ridiculous, and the range of benefits have become ridiculous. Holidays and up until recently, sex workers were part of the deal.
Well, the total cost, just so your viewers know, I mean, within a few years, it's going to be greater than the armed forces. It's going to be about $60 billion a year. So, I mean, we have created a monster, really. And the sad thing is neither side of politics really wants to talk about it because it's very awkward. And frankly, both of them have set it up this way.
That's it. And this is what happens when the Conservatives in this country are too gutless to have the difficult discussions. It gets away from you and it becomes so much harder to reel these things back, because if you do try to do that now, you're going to have every sob story in the media of kids who are going to be adversely affected, and it's going to be very difficult politically to do anything about this. Now, let's talk about the E-Safety Commissioner, the E-Karen, Julie Inman-Grant. She's facing further accusations that she's using this under-16 social media ban to push her leftist agenda. The ban comes into place on December 10 and will force children under 16 off Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, everything, TikTok, X, Threads, Reddit, Twitch, Kik, even YouTube. Under 16s won't be able to be on YouTube, but there is a social media site they can still use. The toxic leftist lunatic asylum called Blue Sky is not covered under the ban, Adam, and even Dr. Nick Coatsworth, hardly a right-wing reactionary, is asking why. I mean, this just is incredible that this is being allowed to happen, that the coalition together with Labor, and this was a coalition policy, this was one of Peter Dutton's
exactly.
sort of genius ideas, but they can't see the unintended consequences of limiting people's access to information.
Yeah, well, obviously Blue Sky is very pro-left generally, so that just shows that this is a political, the rationale behind this is actually political in part. They don't like children getting access to certain ideas. I don't think it's about images so much, because I think I was reading recently, they can still get to various pornographic websites. They're not blocked, but YouTube's blocked. Because
but
of course,
X-rated pornography isn't?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
That makes perfect sense.
It's still, you can still get to it somehow if you're really determined. So, look, this is just about blocking a certain big sites, and I don't think it's going to work. Also, it's a slippery slope, I think, to ultimately the government saying, we want to know what everyone's watching, basically, on the internet. That's going to be next.
And Louise, that's the question about, is this going to really impact every person who uses social media in this country? Because now you'll have to, I don't know, perhaps have proof of ID or submit some sort of document to these social media sites, so you'd rather not, to prove that you are over 16. So it's not going to just impact that age group, it's going to be impacting everyone online.
It's a very fraught issue, because clearly online harm is a major issue for our children. There are some terrible stories, which I know we've spoken about before, Rita, but for one platform to be excluded, I mean, all platforms have to be bad for it to actually work. And as you say, there will be ways, and as Adam said as well, there will be ways around it for those who are so absolutely determined to access a certain type of content. But I guess in a way, at least we're doing something. At least we're doing some kind of ban. We're trying to help children who are suffering in this online space. But I'm really, as a parent, I'm really concerned about how it will actually roll out and what the net benefits will be.
Now let's talk about the economy just briefly, because I know Adam loves it, but the rest of us are too depressed by it. We've got banking chiefs now, global banking chiefs, warning about how boxed in the Australian economy is becoming, that we are having productivity issues, real wages are going backwards, inflation is high, it's the highest in the developed world. And of course, Adam, that's going to put pressure on interest rates. We were expecting a couple more rate falls, but it looks like the next movement could be up.
Yeah, well, 50-50 chance, I would say, the next movement is going to be up. And of course, who knows what that means for the housing market. And, let's think of all those people who've just piled in on the 5% deposit scheme, thinking that rates would go down. That's when they bought, and now rates are going up. So it just goes to show you the folly of those sorts of policies. But look, it's hard to know where to start with the Australian economy, which is so much regulation, growing all the time, whether it's industrial relations or tax or whatever it is, and the bureaucratic workforce. I mean, I think the federal bureaucracy alone grew 40,000 people in 3 years to 198,000. Now, that's huge growth, and there's no country in the OECD that comes anywhere near close to that growth. So Australia does have, real issues on so many fronts, and the quality of debate is so bad at the moment. Frankly, there's just no serious proposals on either side on, whether it's tax or industrial relations. There's just nothing. We're finally getting a bit on the energy debate from the coalition, finally differentiating themselves, but that's not enough. It has to go much further than that.
Adam Crichton, Louise Roberts, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Rita.